Hello and welcome to Board Game Gumbo. Today we're unboxing Yeti Trek from Junk Food Games. This is a 2-player only game that plays in 20 to 30 minutes. So in Yeti Trek, you're going to be playing as one of 2 Yetis who's trying to race their way across the tundra and be the first to the top of a mountain, essentially. So we got several different components here. Let's start with our rule book. It's going to be a fairly light rule book because, again, this is a 20 to 30 minute game. Several different components, some meeples and some cubes representing your Yetis. There's also a rondelle, and then the actual board, which are the slats that represent the mountain range that you're traveling across. All right, so here we have our board pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and punch these out real quick so that I can better explain how the game works. All right, so this single piece here is our mountaintop. This is our objective. When the player gets here, the game will immediately end. And that's always going to go at the top of the mountain range. And then we have several different boards that are double-sided. And these are just going to be arranged in any random pattern underneath the summit, like so. And you notice that there are several different colored locations, white, black, and blue, as well as numbers on those locations. We also have 2 punch outs for the 2 Yetis that you're playing as, so you'll just give one of these to each player. And we also have this little rondelle piece here. So let's go ahead and look at the rest of our components here. We have our meeples representing our 2 Yetis. And these are simply going to track where you move on the board and are going to start at the bottom here at the very base of the mountain range. And then we have our other components here. First of all, we have dice. So this is a I split you choose style mechanic with dice rolling that also has a rondelle. We have our 2 cubes for our players. Those are going to start on specific spots on the rondelle. And then we have some avalanche tokens, some little gems there, as well as, I believe this is the first player token. So on a turn of Yeti Trek, the second player is going to roll the dice, and they're going to decide how to split those dice. So higher value dice are obviously more valuable. You're trying to move up this mountain range, and when you move, you have to end on a location that's the same color as a die. So if I use this die, I have to end on a blue location. And the areas I move through have to have a value equal or lower to the dice that I use. So let's say I wanted to use this 6 die. Let's say I ended up with this one. And then so the player split the piles into these 2 piles because obviously the 6 is really valuable. And so I choose the 6 and the 4, and my opponent gets the other 4 dice. Now on my turn, I have an option to move up the rondelle. I don't have to, but I can. The first time you move on the rondelle, it's free. So I could move for free. You're going to jump your opponent for free as well. That would be a free movement, and that would give me access to this ability, which decreases the value of every black space I go through on this turn by 1. I could additionally go up more, but every time you go up after 1 spot, you have to reduce a die by 1 value. So if I wanted to go here, I could, but I'd have to turn my 6 into a 5, and I don't want to do that. So let's just say I move up on the rondelle here. Now I'm going to move on this board, and I am going to be the white piece here. So I want to use this blue 6, which means I have to end in a blue spot. So if I go 1, 2, 3, I have ended in a blue spot, fulfills that requirement. And I have moved through 2, 4, 6 total pips of value. So that fulfills this requirement. I have 6, so I have used that die for my turn. It's now my opponent's turn, and they're going to choose where to go. They don't have a ton of great options here. They could also use the rondelle if they wanted to, so they could go here for free, or they could go here by reducing one of their dice by 1. But let's just keep it simple and say they don't use the rondelle. They're just going to go 1, 2, They're ending on a white spot, and they pass through 4 pips, so they use this 4. And that's it. That's the whole game until somebody gets all the way to the top of the mountain, where they will immediately win. The only other rules really are these avalanche tokens, which can get placed out. It's one of the rondel locations, and you can place them out, and they basically block movement for both yourself and your opponent. You essentially cannot move through or end on these spaces. And then once somebody else goes to the same rondel location, they can move the avalanche tokens to another location. And that's it. That's everything you get in a copy of Yeti Trek from Junk Food Games.